Welcome back to EmpowerND Podcast. This podcast creates space for honest conversations about health, well-being, and community resources to help people in southwestern North Dakota live healthy, full lives. The EmpowerND Podcast is produced by Women Empowering Women, a nonprofit organization dedicated to connecting, supporting, and educating women to help them become the best versions of themselves. To become a member or learn more, visit wewnetwork.org. Today we're talking about a hormone that doesn't always get included in the conversation around women's health, and that's testosterone. A lot of people think of testosterone as a male hormone, but it actually plays a really important role in women's bodies too. It impacts things like energy, motivation, confidence, muscle strength, and even libido. And when levels are off, women might notice changes that don't always get immediately connected back to hormones, like feeling more fatigued, less driven, or just not quite like themselves. So today we're breaking down what testosterone does in the female body, how it works alongside other hormones, and what it can look like when levels are too low or out of balance. Today we're joined by Megan. Let's get started. So to start, can you explain what testosterone is and its role in women's bodies?
So testosterone is like our drive, so it helps us get up in the morning, it helps us go, it keeps us motivated, and as well as helping with our moods. It helps kind of give us like an even keel on things, calms us down a little bit, and then also helps with libido and all those fun things.
So how do testosterone levels naturally change throughout a woman's life?
So they're pretty steady for the most part. They do rise and fall like a little bit like estrogen does. But they're pretty steady through our life, and then of course peaks around like 40 years old in women, and then tends to decline after that.
Okay. How does testosterone influence energy levels in day-to-day life?
Yeah, so I mean that's where our oomph comes from.
Mm-hmm.
That's where our drive and motivation comes from. So when women are coming to me with a lack of that, I'm thinking right off the bat estrogen and testosterone.
Do you see a correlation in testosterone levels and confidence?
Absolutely. I mean, and there is a neuro mechanism for testosterone. Testosterone does work in our brains to help with that confidence. And so it gives us the motivation and that drive, and that's where I think our confidence come from.
Then how does it affect libido and sexual health?
Yeah, well, when it's low, right, we just don't have that desire and that oomph to
Mhm.
go. So,
Right.
and then of course our confidence then declines with that as well, and we don't feel as great as our bodies, right? And then that will of course affect the way that we are intimate with our partners and how we feel about ourselves. So, I mean, there is a direct correlation with both
Mhm.
of them.
And then does it play a role in metabolism or body composition as well?
It does. So it helps a lot with muscles, right? So it
Mhm.
helps build muscles. It helps kind of keep us leaner on the leaner side. And so I do find that when I put that on a woman's regimen, that they do recover from their workouts a lot faster. And then they are building a little bit more muscle with that too,
Right.
which in the long term is just good for metabolic health regardless, because that does having more muscle obviously increases that basal metabolic rate,
Right.
burns a lot more calories, and your workouts mean something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gives you a little bit more strength, and
Yeah.
so you are able to kind of make more progress with
Power
workouts.
through, and especially with like strength training and
Mhm.
resistance, we're not going to build those muscles to protect our bones unless we are lifting heavier, and
Right.
that's kind of where that comes into
Yeah.
play.
So when testosterone levels are balanced, what might women notice?
Yeah, just that even kilter, like
Mhm.
just feeling good, and like steady levels.
Right.
They have that motivation, they have that drive to get things done that
Mhm.
they maybe didn't have before. And also just like the intimacy with their family. I find I had when I first started in hormones, I remember I had a woman who was perimenopause, but she went through a hysterectomy. Her testosterone levels were barely on the charts. I mean,
Mhm.
her adrenals basically had taken over at that
Mhm.
point. And she was telling me that like she just didn't care if her family touched her, if she gave hugs or kisses to her kids, and her kids were still pretty young.
Right.
And that's obviously a big deal in a woman's life. And we added on a little testosterone. That's all she actually really needed at that time. And that changed her whole entire life overnight,
Right.
really. And so it plays a bigger role in how we how compassionate we are and how
Right.
lovable we are. And I don't think, yeah, we just don't give it enough attention in that realm.
Mhm. What does the testosterone level do during perimenopause and menopause?
Yeah, it starts to decline,
Yeah.
right? So it declines big time. It doesn't necessarily flatline or anything like that, but it definitely declines. And one of the things that I do wish people knew is that our levels, right? Like whenever we get our lab level, I think our normal level is 9 to 55. That is such a huge range for women. And I do feel like, I mean, women feel best as far as my clinical studies, right? The ones that I have done, anywhere between like 20s to 40s. So they really love that mid range right there. So that's optimal. So although you might, if you do get your levels checked, the do some research on it or go talk to somebody who does know what they're doing, because if your level is 9, well, then you're normal, but no, you're experiencing so much of those symptoms, there's so much room for improvement. Yeah.
Can stress, lifestyle, or other hormones impact testosterone levels?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And vice versa too. They all intertwine together.
Diet, movement, all of it.
Yes.
Why do symptoms like low energy, low motivation, and low libido often get overlooked or dismissed?
I know that kind of makes me so sad. And I think it's just because they're broad, right? And there's so many variables and so many things that could be behind the causes of those symptoms, which I mean really can go across the board in all of the hormones and all of the symptoms. But yeah, it is one of the main things that I treat right off the bat when people are telling me that they have those symptoms.
Right.
It goes, I usually will add on testosterone as a last component. I'll always start with estrogen and progesterone first. And then when they come in for their follow-up, they're feeling so much better, but they still have just this like lack of drive or motivation. And that's when I'm like, yep, it's time for testosterone. Let's get that on board.
And I think it's nice for them to see one at a time and what it does for them. And they can recognize those symptoms later on when it's off again.
Right. Well, and a lot of women don't know that testosterone is one of our main hormones, and it is so important in our bodies. And so they hear testosterone and they think, oh no, I don't want to grow a beard. I don't want to look like a man. I don't want to be a man. But there's a lot that we can do before you even get to that level, and that's definitely not the business I'm in. But I still want you to feel like a woman, but it is important to have that at a good physiologic level for what your body is craving and telling you it is craving. Yeah.
So what are some natural ways that might support healthy testosterone levels?
Weight management is one of the biggest ones. So when we are a little overweight, our fat holds on to estrogen, and then that will decline that testosterone and progesterone as well. So keeping that weight in a healthy level is really important. And then, I mean, all of the other things that we have kind of talked about over the last couple of episodes is definitely sleeping correctly, getting in that exercise, getting in the nutrition, just supporting your body and what it needs.
Okay, so such an eye-opening conversation, and one that really expands how we think about women's hormones and overall health. Testosterone plays a bigger role than many women realize, and understanding that can help connect the dots when something feels off. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your insight with us today. And to everyone listening, we're so glad you joined us. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and we'll see you on the next EmpowerND podcast.